Those that nope the frick out of a relationship. What was your they are probably crazy red flag moment? After dating this girl for about a year, her parents surprised me with a contract stating I would propose to my GF within 3 months. I thought my GF would share my concern, but she actually thought I was being irrational for not signing. Nope the frick out of that one and later blocked that entire family from my life in every way I could. Edit. Bro. This blew up bigger than I thought it would. To answer a couple common questions. They were a white, non-religious family in America. Marriage proposal contracts are definitely not cultural here. No one I know has heard of this. The contract included a specific date by which I needed to propose with a diamond ring. There was nothing written in regards to what happened if I broke the contract, since they assumed I'd sign and propose without question or hesitation. After we broke up, her parents threatened with legal action. IDK what for, but that was enough to convince me to cut all ties with that family. She bit me twice. Once on my arm and then on my ass. These were not fun. Love bites. We were in an argument and the crazy broad got violent. Took a chunk out of both places. I finally slapped her so she would release her jaw from my ass. She was shocked. She called the cops. They showed up and arrested her. I was the one bleeding after all. I didn't wash a bowl in the sink before work. I said. I went to do it but got distracted and I didn't. He decided to teach me a lesson by speeding the car up and then slamming the brakes on and stopped before hitting the car in front of us. Stopped at the lights. He turned to me and said, I was going to smash into them. But I didn't. Yeah, he didn't last long after that. It was weird and looking back it didn't make sense what he said but it scared the shit out of me at the time. I called her pretty. She did not like this. She got quite angry. Then tweeted something to the tune of, every girl deserves to be called beautiful every day. Pretty psycho. She broke every bit of glass, plate, window, mirror in our house. Took a knife to the sofa and smashed in the TV. Spent the night driving around drunk looking for me. I was 2 blocks away at my best amigo's house. Located me. Physically assaulted me in front of my friends. And then drove to her parents' house. Grabbed her father's hunting shotgun. And told her parents she was going to blow her head off. She spent 2 weeks in a locked ward and was diagnosed with adult onset schizophrenia. She was legitimately crazy. She thought I had to pay for everything when her friends tagged along. Made her friends hate me and we broke up later. Just curious. Did her friends end up hating you because she told them you weren't paying? Or because she gave them other reasons? Because if those are the type of friends that think they are entitled to a free ride, you're well rid of the entire lot of them. It was because I refused to pay for them and argued that I wouldn't at all. Then she argued me that I should have paid it for them. So her friends hated me and made everything worse. My ex said if I was locking the bathroom door, I was probably hiding something from him. And a couple of times he pretended to break up with me to see my reaction. When I cried he laughed at me and said he was glad I cared about him. What a mature 30-year-old man. I'm glad he is not a part of my life anymore. I had a girl request that we have sex outside. In the woods. We met online. Naturally. Anyway. We head out to a nice spot and do the deed. She begins sobbing after. I ask her if everything is alright. And she reassures me that it is. Then proceeds to tell me about how she was up-head in the woods a couple years back while continuing to sob. Were you unknowingly part of some weird, relive your trauma to deal with it therapy session? I don't know. But it was absolutely insane. She pulled out a knife and started running in circles around the house with it. I was on a bus back home the next day. Edit. I guess I should provide a little context. The short version. Right before that, she was mad about something her cousin had done. So she came in to complain to me about it. I was busy reading Harry Potter and not listening to what she was saying. So she hauled off and punched me in the balls. She immediately had my attention. I jumped up all, what the frick? and she started to try to punch me. I grabbed her by her tiny wrists and stopped her. She settled down a little and I let her go. Then she went and grabbed a knife and started circling the house. In the end she said she wanted to cut herself and not me. But I wasn't cool with any of that. The long version involved her dad RPing her mother in prison. She lived with her grandma. She got pregnant. Her grandma died of cancer. She lived with a teacher. The teacher kicked her out because we made the SI times. She lived with my grandma. She lost the baby. We graduated. We got on a bus and moved across the country to live with her aunt. And then the short version. We went to an amusement park and she demanded we rode the same ride 4 times in a row and would throw a fit anytime I suggested anything else. The line for that ride was over 2 hours each time and we basically waited in lines for the whole day. I was admitted to hospital after nearly having a heart attack. He texted me, asked what I was up to. I told him I was in emergency care, that I had almost died, and I was extremely upset. It was 2 AM. He replied, "Cool. Edit. Sorry for the confusing phrasing. Bye. Almost having a heart attack. I meant I passed out. Got taken to the hospital for a cause. And they had to get potassium infused because it was extremely low and I was informed there was over a 90% chance I'd have had a heart attack. And 50-ish% chance it would be fatal." He wouldn't let me eat more food than him. In the end of our relationship he would measure my food every time I tried to eat. I hadn't been eating for 2 days because I was scared to make him angry and tried to make a meal and took 1 deciliter more than I was allowed and he flipped the frick out. He was crazy as frick but thought I was the crazy one. Edit. Last I hear from him, he still faked having Asperger to get money so he wouldn't have to work. Classy. Edit 2. Apparently he is a photographer with fake Asperger collecting welfare money now. I thanked her for advice that she had given me by texting. "Thanks for the advice." And she flipped the frick out, asking me why I always have to be so sarcastic and passive aggressive. She could not believe that I legitimately thought it was thankful. Don't remember what it was anymore though. We dated for a few weeks and then the night came to get down. Since having sex doesn't happen often for me, I don't typically keep a condom in my wallet or on my person. She says she wants to frick and I tell her I don't have a condom. To which she replies, "It's fine." Being the horny non-thinker I was, I got to work. As I'm ready to come I start pulling out. She grabs my hips and pulls me back inside her and says, "In me." And of course, that being the hottest thing I've ever heard a woman say to me, I finish inside her. A few weeks go by and she tells me she's late and to be prepared to be a father. Not the most ideal situation but I put myself in it. I'm going to see it through. Another 2 days go by and she's in tears. I ask what the matter was and she said she got her period. I looked confused and she yelled, double quote, "I wanted to have a child with you and it didn't work and now we have to try again. I've never ghosted someone so fast in my life." He yelled at me and accused me of cheating because he found another man's pubic hair on my toilet seat. It was dog hair. He still didn't believe me when I got the dog and compared its fur to the hair found on the toilet seat. Ex of 3 years started suggesting the idea of having a threesome. We lost our virginity together. So I figured she just wanted to branch out and have some new experiences in a respectful and mutually beneficial way. Nope. She just wanted to test my loyalty and got pissed at me for being interested in her suggestion. Not really a relationship, but a first date. I was 19 and a junior in college at the time. One of my TAs asked me out. I believe he was 3 years older than I. He picked me up at my apartment and I let him in while I finished getting ready. He started telling me how he could teach me so much about the world and life in general and how I had so much to learn. Blah. 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 Basically, he was saying I was his inferior but he'd be happy to teach me until I was more at his level. It was really a WTF moment. why someone would think the way to a girl's heart was to disparage her intelligence and tell her how superior you were. I showed him to the door and locked it behind him. I was seriously waiting for him to frick with my final grade. But he didn't. Which is good because I would have rained some shit down on his stupid head. Tried to run me over with my own car. In her mind it was my fault though. Okay. I'll bite. Why did she feel justified in doing that? She thought anything she did while she was upset didn't count. For the most part that took the form of screaming at me over stupid things. It got to a point where I ignored the screaming. Anyway, she injured her shoulder skiing one day. 2 doctors, one of whom was my dad, and one physio told her that there wasn't anything wrong with it. I'm not a doctor so I assumed 3 opinions meant it was fine. A year later her shoulder still hurt so she went to another physio who determined she had a torn rotator cuff. She underwent treatment but after a few sessions she still had pain. After one of these sessions she was supposed to pick me up in my car because her car was in for service that day. Traffic on the way was worse than she expected which upset her. And her shoulder pain was also my fault because I didn't tell her to get a 4th opinion right away. So you see now that I deserve to die. Asked me what we'd name our kids and how many we should have on our second date. Also, she was very manipulative and later I found out she already had 2 other boyfriends. Edit. Top comment is about my shitty date. My second comment on this thread. Met a guy at a club. We kissed and I gave him my number. Started feeling bad as the night progressed so went home. Ended up really sick with gastro. The one where you finally get to sleep only to wake up. Vomit. Wish for death then pass out again. It was a 24-hour bug in total. In that time he had left 30 missed calls and messages on my phone. I did not arrange a date with him. Or call him back. I had only met him the night before. He said. All my friends were murdered. And I noped out. Push me to the edge. All my friends are dead. Told me she couldn't have a baby because something was wrong with her. I thought oh well that sucks but whatever. Constantly asking me about baby related stuff and how she really wants a baby even though she told me she can't. Started to wonder what was up at this point. Went on holiday for a month. Came back and was still dating her and talking constantly but she had blocked me on Facebook. Getting massive red flags at this point. Started acting altogether really weird. Asked her what was going on and that I just wanted her to be honest. Turned out she was pregnant and is now a single mother. Think I dodged a bullet. He went through the messages on my phone twice. Each time was after a fight because he knew I would have ranted to my friend about it. Then he tried starting a fight about what he read. Got harassed by him for 3 months after I ended it. Only stopped when I had to get a police officer to go tell him he's not to be anywhere near me anymore or contact me. Found out his first girlfriend got a restraining order against him for the same reasons. Especially frightening when you take into account we were only 17. My ex started a rumor at my college that I'm pregnant. Might as well just get knocked up since everyone already thinks I am. Then she stared at me expectantly. She wasn't joking. Went and saw a movie with him and Jack the Giant Slayer, and he insisted that he hold my hand the entire fricking time. I pulled my hand away for a minute because it was making me fricking uncomfortable. And he immediately snatched it again and held it like it was the golden fricking snitch during the final Quidditch match of the season. Got some very RP vibes from him after that. Her complete inability to leave money in a checking account. She had a frightening compulsion to spend more than we had. I kept thinking that she would settle down once we had a few items for our apartment. After 6 or 7 years I finally realized we could never dig out of the debt we had and we broke up. It took $10,000 in credit card debt to pay off the guilt I felt for leaving her, and lived in a shack to save up money. Within a year or so I had paid off the bills and started watching my bank account grow and grow. It became a game for me and I still kept living like a pauper. By the time I met somebody else and proposed, I had so much money that my new wife yelled at me that it was not making interest in my checking account. She was right. But it still broke my heart to see my checking account game get reset. Oh. And we celebrated 17 years of marriage this year. She's a keeper. We were not in a relationship. Thank God. But after the first date I had a weird feeling. 2 red flags stood out. He was slightly irritated to learn I was in my 30s even though he was 40. As in was irritated I was not younger. I look much younger than I am. Not angry irritated, but you could tell he was slightly disappointed. Then when I mentioned how I used to be incredibly gullible and naive, he took quite an interest in that. Too much of an interest. So that night after I got home I googled him but couldn't find anything. Talked to my upstairs neighbor about him and showed her a picture. Lucky for me she knew who he was because he went to school with her ex-husband. Turns out I couldn't find him because he gave me a fake last name. Looked him up using the correct name and what I found made me sick to my stomach. Not only was he almost 10 years older than what he told me, but he also had 1 conviction and 2 arrests for gross assault imposition of a minor. Read the documents and their physical description matched mine to a T. Hair type. Body type. Act. Noped out of that situation really freaking quick and told him never to contact me again. To his credit he never did. I dated a girl who was the second girl I had ever been with. I found out she was kind of nuts after she showed me that she liked to make her cat do backflips by physically flipping her poor cat upside down. So I stopped seeing her and I later found out she had posted stories about us on her online journal. None of which were true stories. Then I found out she was killed by an alligator in Florida because she wanted to go skinny dipping in a pond in the middle of the night. Got mad at me because I couldn't get to the VA hospital that was a little over an hour away from my house. I was cooking dinner for my 2 young children and don't have any family near to watch them on such short notice. He said I obviously didn't care about him at all and he wished he would have just died in Iraq. Yeah, no standard mental abuse. I have since found out that he is a con artist and 3-time felon who was never in the army and ultimately wasn't in the hospital that day. Just trying to get attention and knew I couldn't get to the hospital, so yeah. I am currently working on collecting information on his past to get him for stolen valor. He shouldn't have tried to mind frick someone who was raised by Marines and takes stolen valor as serious as I do. Each TD.